We are saying people are dying. Let's bring a solution to it. People are debating, oh, the nomenclature you use is not good. Are Christians not dying? Are Muslims not dying? Are everybody not? Have they not killed people enough? Should they be killing people? Should our country have pass mark 7.6% in terrorism? Please, all Nigerian lives should matter. And as regards the PDP, one day, one drama. I'm sure the drama is going to continue after this. It's not going to stop.
Welcome back to Oba's Trending Gist. Today, we are dissecting or diving deep into some of the most talked about topics from Arise News Morning Show. We will be breaking down their discussions on the Anambra elections, Nigerian security situation, and the ongoing saga within the PDP. But before we get into the full conversation, there is a particular fairy segment that caught our attention, especially concerning the Anambra gubernatorial results and some bold claims about Nigeria's terrorism ranking. You won't want to miss our critical take on that. But first, let us take a watch.
All right, it's a new week and, of course, brand new stories, Rufai and Rimbai. And this morning, we're looking, of course, at the much anticipated Anambra elections. First, of course, because it was the first test of Professor Mupito as Inec chairman, and he had said that we can't judge him based on his conduct of these elections. Today is Judgment Day. Yeah. And then, of course, Damagum, and still on this matter between the US and Nigeria, and whether or not Christian faithfuls are being killed in certain parts of the country. Your take on these stories?
Yes, several stories. Let me begin with this update on the security report from the federal government, which I say we should encourage the government to continue to share the data that they have and to continue to share information so that, these days we're in a digital age, so that it can be disseminated. However, I continue to reinforce that the surest evidence that there's a decline in insecurity and that, insurgency, terrorist activity and so forth has been dealt with to the extent of 80-something%, as alluded to by this report, would be those in IDPs being able to relocate back to their homes, would be us seeing the reconstruction, rehabilitation of those areas that were razed down by terrorists. So, okay, these are the statistics available from the government. However, I think they should be supported by a movement of people back to the areas that are said to have been resecured. Now, I think the biggest story of the day or throughout the weekend, of course, was the election in Anambra State. As Ayo very aptly said, this was a big one because, of course, this was said to have been a litmus test, for the new chairman of Inec. Well, in the past, I've always said, I'm not sure if this is a true, this is the correct platform to give him a litmus test. However, having said that, the jury is now out. Has loser congratulated winner? We're yet to see that. That did not transpire. This day newspaper took the headline as the victory of Soludo reinforces the power of incumbency. And this is a conversation that I want to have this morning, because what are the elements that make the power of incumbency so dominant in our political system? Well, I broke them down as money, power, and people. They're institutional, they're economic, they're political, and they're social. But let's take a look at money. Now, money has been a big conversation in this particular election and generally in the political space as we see pre-campaign electioneering, that's towards 2027. But even concerning the Anambra election, what we saw were allegations of vote buying, conversations around that. Even the winner of the election himself has alleged that there was a monetization of the process. Now, what does this tell us? It tells us that we need to take a closer look at the enfranchisement of our voters. It begs us to ask if people who are economically disempowered are able to deepen democratic processes. It begs us to ask the questions whether social welfare has to be elevated in order for our democracy to thrive and deepen. But again, having said that, there were just a handful of arrests concerning that issue. But it was interesting to note that all candidates, or most candidates, and most observers spoke unanimously on the issue of the monetization of the election. Now, let's look at power. So power, we can look at as the deployment of the security architecture, and we can look at it as the strength of the institutions. Inec, for one, is getting a positive review for a change. Why is that? Well, because the IREV was clean. There were neat, well-written result sheets uploaded. There was a few glitches reported from the BVAS. And that process, even the electoral materials themselves, arrived on time in about 48% of polling stations. So from a logistics perspective, I think it's important for us to give this win to INEC. However, if INEC is the umpire that's supposed to create a level playing field, we have to look at all of the other factors, the pre-election factors, as well as the things that happen on election day. Well, on the deployment of security services, I think that's another one that we have to applaud, because we know that Anambra has been a hotspot in the last elections. However, this time around, the security services are saying they deployed aerial policing and so forth. However, the other question remains is that where there are allegations of monetization, why did we not see those arrests happening? Again, there's a unanimous voice around that. Now, very quickly, I go to people. Just 20% of people came out to vote. Now, if you look at that from a bigger perspective, Soludo won with 74% of the vote. 74% of 20% is just 14% of people in Anambra State who gave him a mandate for a second term. It's unfortunate, but it's also a reflection of the fact that people are disillusioned. People have lost faith in the electoral system, and it's going to take more than an efficiently working BVAS and an IREV and logistics arriving on time to get people's buy-in in the electoral process.
Absolutely. Get people's buy-in in the electoral process. Rufai, your judgment on the elections, Professor Amukriton, and of course the PDP story, if you want to take a stab at it, and the security situation in Nigeria.
The most shocking part of the judgment for me was President Tinubu congratulating Amukriton for the elections. And I wonder, what is he congratulating him for? Is it for the failure? Vimbai, like your data points out, 48% of the polling units got their logistical materials as I went due. 48. If you get 48 over 100, is that not a failure? So maybe I'm at CEO. Since Fela sang about elections, after the 83 elections in Nigeria have constantly gone down. Like you said in your data, 20% of the people came out to vote. Is that not a death blow on Anambra that people don't even care about the president because they feel the president is a fraud, it's manipulated, it's a scam? Then there was open buying. You see, Anambra election now became highest bidder. Even the governor, it was vote bazaar. The governor himself came out to say that even if they pay 100,000 per voter, I will still win. So he acknowledged that there's an open vote buying market, and everybody was. The police architecture they put in there, over 55,000 police officers that they said, total failure. In fact, EFCC was parading people with money in vote buying. That's the picture. So that picture making it around is the reflection of Anambra election. So I don't know what we are celebrating in this election. Okay, congratulations to Soludo anyway. We got 422,000. He had a landslide. He trounced everybody and all of that. Yeah, triumphalism. But I don't know what we are celebrating. What we should do, we should be donating tears for democracy this morning, And like I said before, INEC was already failing. You and Dr. Abati were arguing with me that day.
I still stand by that.
But for me, I have a first test case to justify what I said earlier on. I hate to be triumphalist in nature, but it happened because I know. You know why I told you INEC was already failing that time?
Why?
Because culture will eat strategy for breakfast. Is this the first election you hear that they will bring 55,000 police officers? People will not still come out for vote. There will still be vote buying. In fact, this time, there's a new mix to it. Sausage roll and mulch and money. That's what they are sharing this time. So, congrats, Governor Soludo. Anyway, you've been given a mandate. You can change the lives of people. And I pray that it's going to be well with the Anambra. Other people are shouting and saying the election was cashed. Please don't go to court. I'm not advising you. Onwosu, the ADC person, don't waste your money. Don't go to court. Please. I'm not going to be there to say, get to court. No, don't go to court. I'm being very brutally honest. As regards government saying an 81 decreased rates, you see, I'm not saying, I'm a patriot to the core. I want Nigeria to do well, but I'm not saying government should not espouse talking points. But let us do it with facts. You said 81% has dropped. But did the government also remember that as at 2024, Nigeria, that was already, I think, in position number 8 before, has climbed back to number 6 on the Global Terrorism Index. Our rating is 7.5 out of 10.
Very unfortunate.
So that means we're pass mark in terrorism. pass mark 7.5 or 7.6 out of 10. If a child gets 7.5 or 7.6, it's not pass.
That's almost an A.
That's almost an A. So that's where we are getting almost an A in terrorism. And we also like the government to show us the empirical fact to the statistics, because underreporting is even happening. So we like to show us the facts, how they got that 81% dropping, because the IDP camps are still flourishing everywhere. People are still doing things in the IDP camps. Secondly, as regards the Muslim Islamic Council saying that, is it that they are saying that there are no killings of Christians? Because I don't understand. You see, I don't want to go into that tunnel because it's a rabbit hole. It's not a fight between Christians and Muslims, because that's the way people have turned it now. Please, it's never a fight. All we are just saying is all Nigerian life matter. Christians are being killed en masse. Muslims are being killed en masse. Can we stop the problem? And all of this conspiracy theory and propaganda that because Nigeria supported the two-state solution and all of that, please, it's not about that. Those are conspiracy spewing talking points. Let us face the fact that people are dying. And we cannot collect, because you see, when we pass through this phase and the killing continues en masse, it is the same people that will come out and say people are dying. So should we close our eyes and say Trump is the devil when people are dying, rather than solve the problem? But as with always everything that destroys Nigeria is the fact that people will now make it about tribe, about religion, about your section of the country, and the country will never move further. So after 15 years, those that are now still debating, oh, there's no Christian genocide, there's Christian genocide. Is it that they've not killed enough people in Nigeria? Because I don't even know the kind of mindset we have in this country. We are saying people are dying. Let's bring a solution to it. People are debating, oh, the nomenclature you use is not good. Are Christians not dying? Are Muslims not dying? Are everybody not? Have they not killed people enough? Should they be killing people? Should our country have pass mark 7.6% in terrorism? Please, all Nigerian lives should matter. And as regards the PDP, one day, one drama. I'm sure the drama is going to continue after this. It's not going to stop. Because the wiki factor will come again with another thing. And probably, maybe they will go to courts.
That was quite a robust discussion from Arise News team. From the power of incumbency in the Anambra election to the state security across Nigeria, there's a lot to unpack. And as you could tell, Rufai Oseni, with his characteristic passion and some very strong opinions about the Anambra election, particularly regarding Governor Soludo's re-election. So, let us dive into some of Rufai's key points. He expressed clear dissatisfaction, describing the election as mad by vote buying, and even calling it a vote bazaar. Vimbai, one of the anchors, brought up the crucial statistics that only 20% registered voters came out to cast their ballots. When you consider that Soludo won with 74% of that 20%, it means he effectively scored his re-election with the mandate of roughly 14% of the total registered voters in Anambra State. This undeniably highlights a significant vote apathy and raises serious questions about the depth of democratic participation and voters' confidence in the electoral process. As also alluded to by female anchors, the monetization of elections, as they discussed, is a deeply concerning issue that undermines the very foundation of fair representation. Now, Rufai also made a specific claim about Nigeria's position on the Global Terrorism Index. He stated that Nigeria had climbed back to number 6 on the Global Terrorism Index and that our rating is 7.5 out of 10. So let us fact check that. Based on publicly available data as of the Global Terrorism Index 2024 report, which covers data up to the end of 2023, Nigeria was ranked 8th globally. While this is still a very high and concerning position, it is not number 6 as Rufai stated. The report indicates a significant impact of terrorism, and while the exact score he cited might vary depending on the year or specific metric, a score in that range does reflect a high level of terrorism activity. So, while his specific ranking was simply off, his concern about the severity of terrorism in Nigeria is certainly valid. Rufai also criticized the deployment of 55,000 police officers as a total failure, given the continued issues like vote buying. This brings us back to the broader issue of security architecture and its effectiveness. The anchors highlighted the efforts of Inec in terms of logistics and uploading results, with materials arriving on time is in about 48% of polling stations. While this might be an improvement, Rufai rightly questions whether these logistical successes translate into true democratic integrity, if issues like vote buying persist and security forces fail to curb them. Finally, the discussion touched on the Islamic Council denying Christian genocide in Nigeria. This is a highly sensitive topic, and as Rufai wisely pointed out, it is crucial not to frame these issues as a religious fight. The real problem is that people, regardless of their faith, are dying. Focusing on conspiracy theories or religious divides only distracts from the urgent need from a unified effort to address the root causes of insecurity and the violence that affects all Nigerians. The critical point here is that life matters and all levels of government need to focus on solutions rather than engaging in blame games or downplaying the severity of the crisis. So, in conclusion, the discussion on Arise News Morning Show reflects the complex and often challenging realities of Nigeria's political and security landscape. While there are glimmers of hope, particularly in improving electoral logistics, significant hurdles remains. The issue of vote buying, voter apathy, and the persistent insecurity requires a concerted and a transparent effort from all stakeholders. For Nigerian democracy to truly strive and deepen, trust needs to be rebuilt. Electoral integrity must be non-negotiable, and the safety and the well-being of all citizens must be the paramount concern. So, what are your thoughts on these issues? Do you agree with Rufai's take on Anambra election, or do you see things differently? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Obas Trending Gist for more in-depth analysis of the news that matters. See you next time.